What's up, everybody? Welcome to CAPECAST. How's everybody doing?
All right, good.
Cool, Welcome back, return guest, our first return guest, Mr. Paul Shirey.
That's right.
I'm the first return guest. Well, how about
You're it.
All right. Yeah. I'm honored, truly.
Yeah,
there you go.
Thanks for joining us.
I'm digging the shirts you've been putting out, by the way. I see you're rocking.
Oh, thanks. Yeah,
rocking one right now.
Yeah, this is the directed by Zack Snyder one, and it has on the back. Oh,
yeah,
I'll show you if I can get too caught up.
Nice,
So
nice.
Commemorate the event, and you know, Warner Brothers isn't making any shirts like that, so somebody's got to.
Exactly.
That's right.
You know?
Somebody's got to.
Warner Brothers isn't doing a lot of things.
You know, I've been wanting to start a like a T-shirt / design kind of business for over a decade, and there's no time like the present. And I just felt like there's a void that's not being filled in terms of like just kind of niche stuff and kind of deep cut stuff that I think is either cool or funny or whatever. So it's like, screw it, man. Like, I'm just going to do it. So that's it cool. At this point. Like, I'm just going to keep doing it. I make all the designs myself, including this one. And, you know, it gives fans a chance to kind of express themselves where you go to the WB store, you can get a shirt with, you know, Superman's logo or Batman's logo. You're not going to get a directed by Zack Snyder shirt.
That's right.
Warner Brothers. It's just, they're just not there. It's not going to be there. So
if people want to buy them, where should they go?
They can go to my Etsy shop. Is where I'm set up now. It'll be on Shopify soon as well. But it's Arctic Ninja Designs, so just trying to keep the namesake the same across. But you could type in "directed by Zack Snyder" in the search tags, and you'll find it there too. So
beauty. Nice. I'm gonna have to get my hands on one of the Zack Snyder ones. My wife. I'm already like 6 Zack Snyder shirts in at this point, so one more can't hurt too much.
I have this one, and I have the one from his the Snyder Fest thing that he did before, which I bought online, and then I have the hoodie as well that he did through Ink to the People. So I'm all about it. I'm right there. I don't have 6, but I have 3. So still the champ, Brian.
Some would say I have too many. You know,
you can never have too many. I'm a T-shirt whore. I love T-shirts. You look at my
closet.
Way
with hats, man.
Oh, it's just I made a Restore the SnyderVerse hat, but I have to get a sample first before I can sell it. So there you go.
Sweet. Awesome.
Nice.
So before we get started, I do want to let people know that they can follow Paul on Twitter at Arctic Ninja Paul. Also, he co-hosts the Beard and the Bald podcast with Chris Bumbray. Is there any specific place you want to direct people to that you prefer for people to watch or listen to that? I know you've done some videos.
For Beard and the Bald, I mean, most people have their preferred listening places. So they'll go, I think Apple Podcasts is where we get the most, but we're everywhere. Like the podcast is like pretty much wherever there's podcasts, it's there. So it's pretty easy enough to find it. But then I also have my YouTube channel, the Arctic Ninja Network, where I do, you know, reviews and commentary and just kind of like, you know, different stuff on news items and things like that. So you can follow me there too. So I'm all over the place, and I'm on CAPECAST.
That's right. We've loved dropping in on the live shows, and I love the old school like Armageddon reviews and stuff that you do.
Yeah, those are fun, and those are purely done for fun. Like I just do those. I'm like, I'll call up a buddy, or if I just want to do it by myself, I'll do it by myself. But you know, friends from all over. I called up Sean O'Connell to do Man of Steel. I just thought that would be fun. I was like, dude, let's do Man of Steel. And he's like, all right, cool. So those are just for fun. You know, I'm getting ready to do Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes with a good buddy of mine, Zaki Hassan.
Very cool.
We used to be filmmaking buddies back in college, but we've remained friends throughout our lives. So that'll be fun. He's the biggest Planet of the Apes nerd that I know, and like nobody knows Planet of the Apes better. And I figured, let's watch the cheesiest one. I want to hear his commentary for that.
I was going to ask, why'd you pick that one? That's interesting.
Yeah, we don't. Well, that's kind of it. You know, people they tend to you know, they want to see that like the more nostalgic style stuff. You know, doing something that everybody loves. Like, let's say I did a commentary on, say, Michael Mann's Heat. Sure. Who cares what I have to say about Heat? It would just be like, oh, I love it. That shot's cool. Like the music in this part. Like, there's not much to do with that. It's a masterpiece. So, I mean, it would be kind of a moot point. So it's more fun to do
That's one of them that I haven't returned to that version in so long. I have it, I own it. I just haven't watched it. I went and saw that opening night in IMAX, and we got there late. This was before like reserved seating, and we had to sit in the very front of an IMAX theater.
Oh, no.
And it wasn't a movie that was made for IMAX, so it was just blown up to an IMAX screen. It was excruciating watching that.
I'll tell you a funny story. So I went to see The Dark Knight. And this is again before you could do seating, right? Like when you don't, you guys probably then, remember the days where you had to show up to the theater like 2 hours early for big releases just to get in line so you could get decent seats, right?
Right.
So when Dark Knight opened, I had pre-bought tickets. Like I drove to the theater, bought tickets, put them in my wallet. We're getting ready to leave to go to the theater. I was married at the time, and I was with my wife at the time. We were like, okay, let's go. And I was like, man, I want to be weighted down. I took my giant wallet out. I was like, all I need is my credit card and my ID. And I set my wallet down. And we drove all the way across town to the theater. And I got there and I was like, oh, shit. I tapped my wallet and I was like, the tickets are in my wallet. We still got there early. We got there super early, even though we had tickets. But this was not, I was freaking out, man. I was like, dude, I think we have no option but to drive home and drive back. Now, I had a friend that was in the theater, and he's sitting in the front of the theater, and I was like, dude, please, can you hold us 2 seats? And he's like, I got you. He's like, I'll hold them. And it was like 4th row from the very, very front. Yeah. And so I was driving, and I was like, let's go. And we like drove all the way home. I run inside, I like grab the tickets. You know, like when you forget something, like, oh, you
fire
fuck,
drill.
I love it.
Yep.
Put it in my pocket, drove back, and it was like started pouring down rain. And I was like, this is like an adventure in itself, having to deal with this shit. And we finally get in, we're like running in, I'm like covered in like the rain's like just pouring on us. Like God's like, you're gonna make it. Yeah, but I'm gonna make it hard. And like we got in, just covered. And like I remember we sat down and we just like covered in water, like and then just here comes the Batman logo. The second we sat down, it's like and I was like, woo, we just made it. So that was my exciting story all about maybe and
just
nobody
sweating.
has to experience that anymore. Now you just go and like pick you up. Like it's actually
you don't have to earn it anymore. You know?
Yeah, right. But you know what? After decades of earning it, I'm so happy to be like right there, taking that little seat.
Yeah,
I'll show up 5 minutes before and I'll be good. I've earned it. I've stood in enough lines.
Now, like at first when they started doing reserved seating, it was the hard thing at that point was like the education process because somebody would always be in your seat when I would go, And it's like, no, this is, they didn't pay attention to the seats that they picked. And so they just sit wherever they want to. But it's gotten better. People are used to it.
There was a learning curve. I remember people like getting pissed. Like they'd be so, what do you mean? What do you mean, bro? There's plenty of seats right here, right here, right here. And it's like,
You're right.
I know this is new for you, but this is how we do it now.
Right.
Whatever, bro.
Welcome to the future.
Oh, I remember holding seats for people back in the day when the theater was like packed, right? And you're like, oh no, these seats are saved. And people would be like, are you kidding me? And then you're like, your friends haven't shown up yet. And you're like, dude, they better show up. And then I remember one time, like 4 friends were like, we're on our way. And then like at the last minute, like, oh no, we're not coming. And I was like literally fighting people off from getting these seats. And when nobody came, people just flooded in. They're like, screw you, man. They're taking it. And I was like, I'm never holding seats ever again.
You got like women like putting their purse like 5 seats down and claiming
like, wear the biggest jacket you have so we can stretch it across as many seats as possible.
Right.
So that we can hold the seats. Like a jacket is somehow protection for your seat. You can't touch this, got a jacket on it. So crazy.
All right. So let's dive into some Zack Snyder's Justice League, shall we?
We shall.
All right, Paul, let us know. Let's hear when did you see this movie and what was your kind of initial reaction to it?
So I saw it 3 days early, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I got a screener, and I got the screener because I'd put out feelers to talk to Zach and Deb, which I'm guessing isn't going to happen now. I haven't heard anything back, but that was the intent. That's why I got the screener. We're going to try and have them on the podcast. I'll follow up again. Don't worry. So I got to watch it 3 days in advance, and I was so excited. I mean, I was like you guys, like anybody that's, just excited for a movie. But for me, I was excited on just like another level, just on terms of like, hey, this is another, big superhero movie, and we're finally seeing like the fully realized version. So for me, it's had the same kind of excitement level as you would have for like an Avengers Infinity War or Endgame or something like a big event. So I got to watch it. I watched it at home. I actually didn't figure out that I could watch it on my TV, so I ended up watching it on my computer. Just because I was so excited and I had no patience. I was just like, I just want to watch this movie. Just play. So I got to play it on my computer and I watched it, and I didn't want to move. I was just like glued to it. I had to pause a couple times. Just it is 4 hours, and took a few bathroom breaks, refilled a drink.
Sure.
But by the time it was over, I was just left with this. Just this feeling like wow, like that was amazing. This is an amazing
nothing
movie.
We've seen before.
Yeah. I mean, there's no other 4-hour superhero movies out there, unless you want to count like Watchmen director's cut.
Sure.
Which I don't even know if that's exactly 4, but it's a monstrosity for sure.
Yeah.
But the good thing was, and my fear going into Zack Snyder's Justice League was that it would be a lot of filler. That was my big fear. Was that I hope it's not just a bunch of filler stuff, but just like as much as I enjoy character moments and stuff, my fear was that it would be a bunch of filler that could easily be cut. So far from the truth. Some people, I guess you could argue like, oh, some of these vignettes go on for too long, but I like that shit, so I'm fine. That's fine. Like the scene of Aquaman walking out, on the dock.
Preach,
like,
brother.
I'm like, I love that stuff. I love like those are fun moments for me. Same thing with the Flash sequence, which was a scene which I think we all had known about fairly early on. And I was like, dude, why is that not in the movie? Like, I want to see that, And it didn't disappoint. So there's just so many moments that stuck with me. And by the time it was over, I was like, dude, I can't wait to watch this again. And so now I'm up to number 6. 6 viewings, and I watched it like 3 times with the screening link, which is rare. That's so
How long was it active? How long did you have it?
It was active until it premiered on HBO Max. It was like 3 or 4 days.
Nice.
And I felt guilty even having it because I knew how many people really wanted to see it, and I was like, if I could, I would bring like everybody that I know, like especially like people that I interact with on Twitter, you guys, I'd be like, dude, I'd invite everybody over into my house to watch this movie. I would just have it on a rotation. Like, I would break all the rules.
That's pretty much what we did.
Yeah, just invited everybody over.
We had, dude, I'm not even kidding. We had screenings every 4 hours at my place.
All right, so check this out. I show up at Brandon's got like a really nice home theater, like legit home theater. He's humble about it. It's amazing. I head over to his house Wednesday night after work. Right when I get there, we watch BVS. We rolled right into the Kevin Smith, red carpet deal.
Yeah.
And then we took like a 30-minute power nap or something, Brandon, at 2 o'clock. Yeah. And
how are you able to sleep? I couldn't sleep. I would just be like laying there, like it's like before Christmas morning. Forget it.
I was messed up the next day.
I'll bet.
So we watched it we watched right when it came out at 3 till 7. My wife walks in the door, and like after a fresh night's sleep, like she's feeling great, like when are we gonna watch it? And we like turn around looking like zombies. And she goes, I'll be honest, when I saw you guys the first time, I was kind of afraid you didn't like it. But I walked out. I was asleep in 15 minutes, took a 3-hour nap, then we did our official reaction video.
Nice.
Or our initial reaction video. But yeah, Brandon, how many screenings did we do? We did 4?
I think we did 5 in like 3 days.
That's crazy.
At least 2 a day, I think, right?
So did you guys just bring like friends over and family?
Yeah, I mean, I just had like people that are just like tangentially like interested. We're like, hey, we heard about this and you got a nice theater. Can we like book some time essentially to come watch it?
Brandon's selling tickets.
Yeah. Shit.
Yeah. That's actually funny because my daughter, she's 7. Every time we go down to the theater, she makes tickets, and so like
awesome.
she made tickets for everyone. And that's just kind of what we do. But
that's sweet.
But yeah, I mean, and we watched it with her, my nephew. They both sat 4 hours straight. Watched it. She's 7, he's 9. So it's crazy how it just. We were watching. What were we watching? We reviewed Boss Level the other day, and that movie was like an hour and a half, and it felt so long compared to this movie. And that's just like,
Brandon kind of described it like the first time we saw it. He like halfway through, he was like, I just feel weird watching this because I feel like this movie shouldn't exist. Like,
it's true.
Yeah, it just felt weird to see these scenes. Like,
yeah,
it's like they were just sitting on all this stuff, and it's like it's so crazy that this stuff exists, and it's here now. So
it really is
in itself.
It's a monumental thing. It's no small thing that it's finished, complete, and that you can watch it right now. We could end this whole thing right now and go watch Zack Snyder's Justice League.
So cool.
What I just said is completely true. Like, just think about that. If you heard me say that to you like a year ago, you'd be like, "What?" Or maybe 2 years ago, whatever. You'd be like, "Huh?" That's what do you mean? Where am I watching it? Like on HBO? What? It would just be crazy. It's unheard of. Like
on demand, whenever you want. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Things have changed so much in the last few years, specifically with two things, with COVID hitting and with the streaming wars going on. And those kind of two things kind of coalescing, and they kind of came together. And, as crazy as it is, that's kind of really led to Zack Snyder Justice League happening the way that it did. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess if you're ever looking for a silver lining on COVID, which is very tough to do, but there are some things I think that we'll pull from it years and years from now after looking back and being like, hey, as weird as it is, that's one of those things that it made it come to be, which is crazy, but it's true.
Yeah.
And so here we are, and it exists.
It's crazy.
Bad Brandon.
Yeah, I mean that's been it's kind of a blessing in disguise for this movie. It's like, and we've talked about this many times before, but just the perfect storm of all the crazy stuff that happened to get us to this point to where we got this 4-hour cut, this behemoth of a movie that is just like there was no avenue for this prior to right now. And so it's just it's crazy that it's here. So
yeah, Warner Brothers had zero incentive prior to this, prior to HBO Max existing. They had no incentive. It was something I always told people. Like, what's the incentive for Warner Brothers to put this movie out in theaters? There's none.
Yeah, well, even the circumstances that led to the theatrical being as terrible as it was, that whole AT&T buyout and them trying to rush it to theaters, try and boost that, and like all these things, just if it wasn't as like quote unquote, as terrible as the outcome was, then fans wouldn't have been. If it was like okay, we wouldn't have been like, yeah, okay, it was good, I guess we enjoyed it, whatever. Like if it wasn't as like such a departure from what we were sold, essentially.
Yeah,
then,
no, exactly.
It's just
it didn't look anything like what we had seen prior. There's nothing like Man of Steel. There's nothing like Batman v Superman. And it felt empty. It felt like, I remember after we saw it at the premiere, I was talking to other journalists, and then I was talking to the reps, and I was like, I was trying really, truly. You always try to find a positive to give to the reps, because they fly you out there and all this other stuff. But you still got a job to do. But at the same time, you kind of want to be like, pull up something nice. And I was like, well, it's the most Marvel movie DC has ever made. And I still think that's the truth.
That's what they want.
And I have no desire to go back and revisit it after watching this.
No.
I know a lot of people have. They're like, oh, I just want to go back and watch it and like compare and contrast. I'm like, what's the compare and contrast?
That's the thing.
It is a totally different movie. I don't even want to see the good stuff that was like shoehorned in there. I don't even want to see it's like blasphemous to me at this point. I have no desire to see that.
My dad asked me that before he was going to watch. He said, should I go and check out the theatrical before I watch this one? I was like, so I can compare it. I was like, there's nothing to compare. Like, it's not even comparable.
It's like, Do I need to drive a really crappy car before I buy a brand new one? Like, no, I think you're good.
Right. If you have the luxury of being able to watch this movie without having seen the theatrical, embrace that.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
definitely do that. Because that's one thing we were talking about too, was like certain stuff that was included in the theatrical cut. Can you imagine what it would have been like to watch this movie having not seen like some of those
Heroes
scenes
part,
that Zack had? Yeah.
Superman side eye to Flash and
Yeah. I think a lot of that would have made a huge, a bigger impact. And honestly, I was also nervous about, because I didn't know exactly what was and wasn't SnyderVerse Whedon. It seems like Whedon, he really kind of cherry picked things here and there to keep, which is always kind of weird. And I think there were certain lines all of us were praying are not in the Snyder. Like that whole
something's definitely bleeding.
I was like, oh god, yeah, like all of that stuff. I'm just like, oh thank God. It's like after those scenes, I was like, woo.
Yeah. Well, with the Superman stuff, it's a little easier to pick because you can see the rubber lip. So that's a good question though. What was something that ended up being a Snyder thing that you kind of maybe thought that could have been a Whedon thing that was retained? Was there anything that held over that you're like, oh, I thought that could have been a Whedon thing, but nope, turned out to be Snyder.
For me, some of the it was weird because it was some of the Flash dialogue, like the snack hole thing, but it just it worked because of like the context around it. Like it just didn't seem, and obviously it helps that he didn't supplement with some of the other stuff that he said after that. But
the brunch stuff,
right, but that probably like Flash dialogue would be the thing for me that I was kind of expecting to see less of.
Yeah, I think it's the same for me as the Flash. And there's a lot of complaints about the Flash, which I really personally don't understand. Everybody's like, oh, they're gonna, like with the Flash movie, they're gonna make it all jokey like Whedon, and I'm like, dude, Flash is jokey in Snyder's cut. That's just the way it is. He also has a whole other layer to him as well. But he's very much like this kind of fast talking, kind of goofy. He is the comic relief of this team.
Right.
There's nobody else cracking jokes, and you kind of need that, and that's okay.
Yeah, I agree.
It's fine. And he still has the best moment of the movie, in my opinion.
And his nature. I mean, even like if we want to talk animated stuff, his nature, like that is kind of his nature in the animated, like JLU and stuff. Like he's just kind of the quipper of the group. Yeah.
I don't know why people get so upset about that. I mean, it's it's like a lot of people, I think, and we actually talk about this a bit on the Beer and the Ball this week, but this whole like anti-joke, like anti-humor thing in something that would be Snyder related just doesn't really fit. I don't get that. It's like it doesn't have to be so dire and serious. And just like it's okay to laugh. Like it's okay to have some humor in your movie. And some movies actually really need that humor, and some movies need less of it. But not everything has to be like this dark affair. Well, and that's where the Flash movie is going to go. It's going to do its own thing and establish its own identity as a solo film, although with a bunch of other people. So I don't have any problem with his portrayal. Yeah, I mean, I would argue that this movie is funnier than the theatrical was of Justice League. Well, it's better timed, right? Like
exactly.
It's not overwhelming. Where here comes a little quip. You're like Batman. Like, do you talk to fish? Like, come on.
Even the like the when they're getting ready to break into the Kryptonian scout ship and Flash is asking Aquaman about which hat to wear. Yeah. And Aquaman's just not there for it. Like he just doesn't want to be bothered. And it's like, show me one again. Like
I think it's funny how I'm sorry, Brandon, you go ahead.
That's cool, man. You go ahead. I'm good. You're the guest.
I was just gonna say, I thought Aquaman out of all the characters seemed I guess the most underdeveloped on Snyder's vision. And I guess a part of that, or a huge part of that, plays into the fact that Wan's Aquaman had already come out, which I love. I know some people don't. I love Aquaman.
There's a lot to love about that movie. So
I love his rendition. I love the action. I just, there's tons I love about it. But it was, you could see that Snyder was very much playing, I think, kind of what Juan tried to do. And I would argue, I think he did better because he had more time with the character, was that he was trying to make him, hey, this is Aquaman. He's not the Aquaman that you grew up with that was riding dolphins,
right.
And just kind
metal
of
Aquaman.
General,
yeah,
it was like metal Aquaman, and it was just a very different thing. And I think that's what Snyder was doing for the film back then, and then Juan kind of went and ran with that and just expanded on it and did, he did a whole lot more with it, but it was kind of weird. It's almost like watching a step backwards, almost like a prequel, which it technically is, but now you're seeing it today in the context of having already seen the Aquaman movie. I thought it was a little strange, but that's no fault of Snyder's per se. It's just that that's what he was making at the time.
Sure.
And since then, a whole other movie had come out, so it's those are the circumstances he had to deal with. So
right. That was one of the things that I in my most recent screening that I kind of paid attention to with, there's been all this drama about whether this is going to continue or not. People are talking about, what is the DCEU? Like, are they building a world? Are they not building a world? What's funny is like, you obviously get the vibe that after this movie, with what they did to Justice League, the stuff that came out afterwards, Birds of Prey, all that, you get the vibe that they wanted to do what Marvel was doing. They wanted to build this massive scale universe, connected universe. And as I'm watching this thing, specifically like the Amazon stuff, I'm like, it's amazing how well that this movie ties into the original Wonder Woman. And I'm like, I see this movie and I'm like, you guys had it. Like, it was right there. Like, it's just what I pressed on. Like, it's such a shame in that regard.
When we saw Justice League again back in London, there was another journalist there, a well-known journalist. Now I will name drop him. Not to say anything bad. He said something very correct, but he was just like, Warner Brothers just cannot get out of their own way. And he was actually one of the few that was very, very vocal about how much he didn't like Justice League. I was, I had just watched it and I had very mixed feelings. I didn't love it, that was for sure. I was just kind of like, I'm not quite sure what this is. It feels like a DC movie wanting to be a Marvel movie, and I hadn't reconciled it. But I think he was right.
A little.
Yeah. But I think, when they said at DC Fandom, when they started talking about everything, they were like, we're going to do this multiverse thing, which is going to allow us to pull actors and characters from all different places. I thought that's brilliant. Like, that's absolutely what they should do. It's what they do in the comics. Why not play with that? This way, you're never beholden to this timeline of events. You don't necessarily have to talk to the next filmmaker that's making another movie. They don't have to talk to you, and you don't have to look 3 movies ahead. Just make your thing. Maybe you have a phone call or two and just say, hey, this is what we're doing. They're like, okay, cool. Maybe it's in the universe, maybe it's not, but you have options is basically what it comes down to. And that's what I felt they were leaning into until we got that Ann Sarnoff interview, and it sounded like rather than leaning into the multiverse, now they're leaning into everything tying into everything. So I was very confused by that interview as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Like, which one is it? Are we multiversing or are we building a universe all connected? Which one is it?
She felt like she was so coached up for that interview, like the Easter egg comment and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think I feel like it was a very purposely timed interview.
Yeah.
I think that...
Well, I would venture to say that it was more of a press release than an interview. Like, it just felt like it was like, you're going to ask me these things. And maybe he didn't even ask her these things. They just wrote the questions down and said, you're going to say that you asked me this on Sunday. But this is what happened.
It's possible. I think that they definitely wanted to cover some ground. And I feel like a big part of that was, probably trying to get ahead of anybody trying to use a hashtag to restore the SnyderVerse. Yeah. Whoops.
Kind of
that didn't work out how they wanted.
1.5 million tweets later.
Like, I feel like, they kind of, in without saying it exactly, they wanted to say, you got what you wanted, now please go away. But that is not how things work, especially when things perform very well. and the hype level is good, the reviews are good, and the overall reception is good.
Right.
That's just not how things work. That's not how business, not how Hollywood has worked traditionally.
Right.
I think it was Owen Gleiberman that wrote something for Vanity Fair or something, wherever he's writing now, that kind of wrote a case for, if they're not going to continue this, then like, has Hollywood forgotten what Hollywood actually is? Because that's traditionally what happens. A movie does very well, reception is very good, they make another one. However, all that said, I think getting to the next one is a little tricky.
Yeah, for a lot of reasons.
And we go very much in depth on it on the Beer and the Bald podcast this week. It'll be out tomorrow. But I think that there's some valid things to look at that are brought up, and I think that were brought up on our podcast. And one is that the way Zack leaves it, if he's looking to shoot Nightmare stuff for the sequel, the two people that he doesn't necessarily have to get back for any extended period of time are Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa, who would be a little pricey and probably a little busy because both of them are getting ready to do. Gal's got a couple projects lined up, and Jason's going to be doing Aquaman 2. So, my initial argument is, well, you have a lot of talent that you're going to have to pull together to make a sequel or a miniseries sequel, which I think is probably going to be your best bet, happen. I don't think it's impossible, though. I just think it'll be difficult. But given that if Gal and Jason are playing very small roles, they could just turn up for a short bit, move on, and then maybe they come back for the third part in some capacity. But if they're both dead, you don't really need them. So you can continue. Yeah. And Affleck, although he's an A-list talent, everybody loves Affleck, he's had a rough go. And he's not exactly he's A-list, but he's not exactly in the same tier because he hasn't really done much in a while. So it could very well be that, he's still got something to prove on that front. So
and the thing too, we've mentioned before is what Zack does have going for them, what Warner Bros. Would have going for him is his cast is so loyal to him. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely
freaky loyal, Yep. It's not something where like, I'm sure it's kind of been well published that people didn't have the best time on reshoots with Whedon and whatnot, but that is the exact opposite from everything that we've seen in regards to experiences with the actors with Zack. I mean, you've seen it just with the Snyder Cut thing, just the support he's gotten from, like you're saying, these big A-list actors and actresses.
Everybody that I talked to on the Army of the Dead set, every single actor, talent, every person we talked to, the first thing out of their mouths when we asked the traditional questions like, how did you become involved in the project, blah blah blah. Every one of them is like, I just want to work with Zack. Batista, everybody. I just want to work with Zack Snyder. And he does have that.
Well, Batista, he even said that in an interview that he took the role, like he turned down what was it, a Suicide Squad role because he wanted to work with Zack.
And and so that's Zack does have this power. He has this not so much power. He has this draw that people do want to work with him. They want to work with somebody that's gonna shine them in a light that isn't just some generic.
I've seen that too. Like
grind of a movie.
Some people have mentioned, like, when Zack Snyder shoots you too, you're going to turn out looking good in whatever you're in. Like,
I mean, who doesn't want, if you're an actor, I would feel like if you're trying to establish yourself and have a long career, wouldn't you want to be shot by the best? And have somebody create an iconic scene. I mean, Bruce Willis, no matter what he does in his career, is always going to have that shot of him jumping off the roof of Nakatomi Tower as it explodes behind him in slow motion. Doesn't matter what he does. That scene, it lives forever. It's an iconic scene that will always be there. And there's 1,000 more for other actors and other performers. And it's like all of that has to do with, finding the right project, finding the right filmmaker, the right cinematographer, and just like making that happen. But not everybody gets it. Not everybody gets those moments. So, but Zack Snyder's he's gonna do that for you.
He's got a team and he knows what he's doing. That's for dang sure. You watch this movie, and the visuals. It's amazing what they got done in what 10 months.
Yeah,
or
it's astounding. The effects are sharp as hell.
Insane.
I mean, it really is like it is a visual feast.
Yeah,
you can't like holding it up to the Whedon cut it's incomprehensible. I mean, it's like when if somebody gives you like a full color photo book of Justice League, and then somebody gives you a coloring book that's not, you know, here you go. Here's a box of crayons and a coloring book. That's the Whedon cut. Or you can have this prestige photo
and there's like
book.
And there's like only red crayons in that box.
So, you know, I think maybe I was talking to Bumbray. It might have even been on this. I can't remember, but we were talking about, you know, the lack of Whedon's style and his you know, his stamp as far as that goes, and I think it was Bumbray, but he said, you know, I think this is, you know, proves to me that the Avengers, 2012 Avengers, is probably more Feige than Whedon. It might be right. I mean, I actually, that's the only movie of Whedon's that I actually love. There's nothing else that I love of his, but it has to do with so many other factors, not so much just Whedon.
Right.
But, you know, the other thing, too, that I brought up that we had talked about was that I don't, despite the problems that Whedon may have had on set with the other actors just being a bona fide dick, I don't blame him for what the Justice League was. He was hired to do a job, and he did what they asked him to do. He did it the way that, you know, he does it because that's what they hired him to do. Sure. And if he pissed people off and, you know, all that other stuff, well, that's one thing. But in terms of the final product, that's Warner Brothers that asked for that. You know? They know
it's
who
definitely
they hired.
a thankless, pretty thankless task that he took on. But also, it's the vibe that I got was that he had a little bit of a axe to grind with just like wanting to like be the savior and like be the guy that like saved the DC, so to speak. And he probably had a lot of ego going into it. I'm just assuming. I don't know. But
I mean, I'm sure that he probably didn't even need to have ego because I'm sure Warner Brothers probably pumped him up with it. You know, they're probably like, oh, everything that you've done for Marvel, like we need to get some of that over here in the DC. And I think Joss's ego was stroked over at Marvel for that. You know, I remember reading an interview with I can't even think of his name, which tells you everything you need to know. The director of Thor: The Dark World was talking about how like they flew Joss in, Alan Taylor. They flew in Joss to like consult on something and something on the script they were having problems with, and then, you know, he was talking about how he's like, you know, and then it's like you have Joss and all you want to do is just like you're like, well, what about this? What about this and this and this? You know, and I think that's what happened is Joss is witnessing everybody kind of, you know, basically at his teat. And he was just like, they need me, you know. But in the end, it kind of all just, you know, crumbled to a halt after Avengers: Age of Ultron. And I think that the critical reception of that really messed him up. And I remember seeing him at Comic-Con. He did like this. It was like a Joss Whedon panel, and he went up on stage. And I felt like there should have been somebody with like a cello up there, just being like, doom, doom, doom. So he was just like, it was like the saddest like presentation I've ever seen. It was like, yeah, I made this movie. I thought he just started crying or something. Like I was like, I remember I was like, what is going on here? Like he was a broken man up on that stage, and I was just like, wow, like all this because of Avengers: Age of Ultron. So
I also saw that Ray Fisher was quoted in an article talking about his like conversations with Joss early on, and he said when he was talking to him about Diana, Joss kept referring to her as Natasha in their conversation.
Oh, you mean Natasha? Yeah. She's a Black Widow. I can see that. Ray Fisher, it's good that you brought up Ray Fisher. He is another one that I think is going to be a tricky issue,
no doubt,
in terms of continuing with him as Cyborg. And I you know, he has, I'm not going to say he's like completely made his bed per se. And I'm not even necessarily saying he did anything wrong because I don't think that he did. But I think that for a business, you know, where you've basically, you know, you've accused the business of wrongdoing and, you know, you've proven to be somebody that can be, you know, just I want to say difficult, but I understand that like he had an axe to grind, and he had things to bring out, and he had things to say that many other cast members legitimized. But as a business, you have to look at that as kind of like, is this somebody that we can afford to hire again? It's an issue. So it's something that I think that's a hurdle, and it's something where Ray's going to have to bury the hatchet on this stuff if that's something that comes up and they're able to continue and they want to use Ray. It's going to have to be something where they're going to have to come to some kind of agreement. And I think Ray just wants to be treated with respect and all that other stuff, like anybody, which they should be. But I don't think it's as easy as Ray, you're hired. Come on back.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. Even in the Ann Sarnoff interview, she talks about Walter Hamada. She's like, Walter Hamada even offered him a role in The Flash. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of the point. Like, that was what he's claiming is like he tried to bribe Ray with the Flash role to like quiet down is what he's claiming, So it's like, even in that article, it's like, okay, well, we're
I don't know. We can all be bought. Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, all right, you guys have an investigation, and I guess there's not. I still, honestly, I really don't know because they haven't made public like what specifically happened. Maybe you guys know. Maybe you guys have dived deeper. I don't know, but I haven't heard any one specific thing that has made me.
That's
think
the only
like,
thing that
people need to be arrested or thrown in jail. I'm just kind of like, so everybody's an asshole. Got it. I got that.
You definitely there needs to be a little bit it's hard to be like, I stand with Ray Fisher when you don't really know what we're standing for exactly.
Exactly. Which is why I don't hashtag that. It's like, I support Ray Fisher. I just need to understand. I don't quite understand what happened. I don't. Like, I'm sure some people do. And Ray's been like, I know what's happened. And I don't know, maybe he's under, some kind of gag order or something. He can't talk about it. But I need to hear a little more before I make a judgment call on any of that. And I think, that's a problem in today's society all around, particularly on social medias, where something happens and people just automatically assume everything. They assume they got the whole narrative from seeing one image or hearing one piece of something, and they're already on the hashtag, they're retweeting, they're all for it, and you're like, what are you for again? And you're like, hang on a second, let me go read the article.
I think regardless of how this whole thing wraps up with him, I think it's going to be a very unsatisfactory ending for like the public. I don't think that like it's something that is going to be like super publicized, like whether somebody apologizes to somebody, like they'll take care of it internally if it's taken care of, or like, what if there's litigation, whatever. I just feel it's not going to.
And that's my thing. Like, what is the outcome here? What you have to have, what do you want? You want somebody fired? Is that it? It sounds like he wants more than that. It sounds like he wants, fairness and all that other stuff, which is fine. I fully support that. But if you're like, well, they were mean and they said bad things and I want them fired, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, you have to tell me specifically what they said in context. Let's, there's
sure. I mean,
it's
at the end of the day, we don't have the full story. Like,
no. But
it seemed like he drew a line in the sand when it came to Hamada, and when Hamada's, they didn't like get rid of Hamada, it kind of backfired him because he made that statement. He's like, I'll never work on a Walter Hamada production again. It's like, all right, well, yes, he's still around, so this complicates things. Yeah,
and I don't think Hamada's going anywhere, and I think that I just think I feel like Ray Fisher I feel like he's trying to like be revolutionary in a sense and like get his voice heard, which is great. Yeah. I don't know that I agree with the way that he's doing it. That's just my personal take on it.
Sure.
And I don't think it's really the best career move personally. And you could say, what their career, but what about the truth? About like people don't really care about the truth. They just want to be right. And in the end, I think that really, I don't think that Ray has gotten the best advice from his managers and stuff. And he's a talented guy. I'd like to see him work some more, but it's difficult to like, oh yeah, let me work with that guy. Like if I say the wrong thing to him, but I don't even mean to, like all of a sudden I'm in hot water. I'm in some kind of social media like craziness. I'm like, shit, just trying to make a movie with the guy, and it's like, it's tricky. It's tricky. There's no easy answer for that. And I think that's going to be one of the bigger hurdles. I think if they were to continue with the SnyderVerse is, what do we do about how do we handle the Ray Fisher thing? Like, that's
it'll be interesting to see, like, if all this is all hypothetical, obviously, if you get to a point where like you get some of the bigger name actors to a point where they're like, yeah, I'd be willing to do this project with Zack, whatever. Like, at what point does that momentum like kind of carry over into like how they try and resolve this situation? You know, like I feel like I don't know which dominoes have to fall first, I guess is the question. Like,
well, I mean, Affleck and Godot basically putting their support behind the Snyder Cut movement was a huge deal.
yeah.
So I think if one of them were vocal and said, you know, I would, or one of them hashtag restore the SnyderVerse, that'd be a big deal. It's nice that Brad Paisley tweeted restore the SnyderVerse, but it'd go even further if it was.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. It would go even further if it was Affleck or, you know, other people from the cast to kind of rally behind it, because, you know, that would go contrary to what Sarnoff has said. And, you know, to be clear, from my perspective, I am excited for the projects that lay ahead for the DCEU. I want to see these. I'm going to watch the Suicide Squad. I'm going to watch Black Adam. I'm going to see all these. There it is.
Yeah, that's you.
But
right there.
That is me. But I'm, you know, I still want more SnyderVerse stuff. I want to see this story come to fruition. I think it's, you know, it's an amazing tale. It's like a giant Elseworlds tale that doesn't have to tie into all this other stuff. I think it would be a great HBO Max. Like, I think they should make it a miniseries event. That's my personal take. I think you can use this 4-hour kind of like launching off point and then do, I don't know, Game of Thrones style seasons of this.
And that gives you the flexibility, like you were kind of mentioning earlier, like with production, it kind of allows your actors to, you know, schedule your actors when you need them, and then they're gone, like they're good, get their stuff done. And also one thing that I wanted to mention earlier too, with the multiverse, when we were talking about it, when they initially announced this multiverse concept, I was so stoked, just like you're talking about. Like, this is they're taking comic books and applying it, like the whole concept of way comic books work, and applying it to movies. Like, it's brilliant. I don't know why this hasn't happened yet. Like, sure,
it's
you
the
can
most
have
sensible time.
Like, and what I'm starting to worry is that instead of using the multiverse as a tool to like create and build different worlds and whatever, they're going to use it as a crutch to like cover inconsistencies and like that kind of thing. Like,
I think that's possible.
Just given the management history we've seen with DC.
Well, I mean, I think that whole idea kind of stemmed from when Affleck was, when it was like 2017 Justice League. Affleck kept saying, you know, he was already out, and you know, he wasn't going to do Matt Reeves' Batman, but they were trying. He kept saying in interviews that he's trying to find an organic way to seg out of the role. And it seemed like Flashpoint was going to be their like fix for that for him. And it just seemed like to me, it's like, don't use a movie just to try and fix your continuity. Like, it just, I mean, at the end of the day, who's going to remember it? And you know, who cares? It's just going to make for a bad movie if you're just using it to fix something. But it seemed like they got that in their head, and that's now every iteration has been like, okay, how do we fix things with Flashpoint? And it's really not, you know, it's not the best move in my opinion.
Yeah, and something that we had discussed on the podcast this week was that, you know, with this Michael Keaton thing, you know, he's continues to get more and more wishy-washy about his involvement in the Flash. I don't think that's I don't think that is anything other than purposeful. I think that you know, he's probably not very sure about what the hell he's doing or what they're doing. And you know, we kind of speculated that it could be a situation where maybe Keaton gets cut and Affleck actually slides into this like Nick Fury-esque Batman type role for the DCU, which honestly I'd be fine with. And I think that could still work in terms of him in, you know, the Nightmare World SnyderVerse. There's no reason. I
mean, that's essentially what he does in Justice League. He's just like the de facto leader. He's not he has his place because he's the only human character in the group, but he's the leader. He's like, you know, but
and it makes perfect
I can
sense.
see that.
Like Batman is.
I just hope. Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
I was just gonna say Batman is, you know, he is, you know, he's not a superhero, obviously, and he's always been like the brains, the world's, you know, greatest detective. But the most that he does in fights is he just kind of like, if he doesn't have a gun, he's kind of just swinging away from shit, right? Like that's
basically what happened at the end of BVS. He's just like running from Doomsday.
I'm just gonna, whoa. Yeah, he's just kind of like, and look at this.
Don't kill me! Don't kill me!
If I see Batman, like, if I were to see Batman punch like a giant monster, I'd be like, no, that wouldn't happen. That's unless he's in, like the Hellbat suit or something like that. I don't think so. So they played that very realistically. So there's no reason he couldn't play that kind of role. Just as you said, Brandon, he's like, that's always kind of been his traditional role with Justice League. So makes sense.
That's it. Also kind of talking about, and Zach's kind of, whether it's the storyboards in Texas or whatever, he's talked about what his plans are for Batman. Like ultimately Batman's going to die too. Like, so Affleck may not even have to be a participant in the last movie. Who knows when that's going to actually happen,
Maybe he dies in the second movie. And because Snyder did say that the last film focuses more on Superman, that it's more Superman's journey of basically embracing his, his role as protector of Earth. And so that makes sense. Why not embrace those things on Snyder's level? Just say, hey, well, I need Affleck for the sequel, maybe a few shots for the final part, but ultimately characters are dying,
Right.
So, and again, it's kind of fun. It's fun that way. It's like you can have that movie where heroes die,
Oh, I love
you want to keep your continuity going with everybody staying alive forever. That's fine. You have your train, but I like to see them die. Dude, I like to see them be injured. Like that's
give me some stakes. I'm all about stakes in these movies. Like that's something that this genre has lacked so hard over the last 15 years. Like, that's something that I would love to see play out, obviously in this or in these movies if they happen, but just in general, like more in these comic book movies. Like, one of the things I always complain about is in I think is it Civil War where War Machine falls, Rhodes falls, and
he gets his
I was so excited. Like, it sounds bad. I was so excited when he fell, and I'm like, is he dead? Like, did somebody die? Like, and then they just don't address. Like, he just gets his technical or mechanical legs, and he's good or whatever.
Well, I feel like they made up for it in Infinity War and Endgame to a point. Some of them come back, but as far as
Infinity War, yes, sure.
Black Widow is still dead and will remain dead. I don't think she's going to come back, and I think Tony Stark he's kaput. But that's something that I enjoyed about. And I love Endgame. I loved the finale. I loved Infinity War, and that's what that's where I really want to see this kind of Empire Strikes Back level ending, which is I think that's kind of what BVS was, and now it's ironic, but now it's kind of like Zack Snyder's Justice League is almost Empire Strikes Back again. But it's like you're still seeing like, oh, jeez, man, things are about to get worse. Crap.
If these movies do get made, the second Justice League movie is going to be balls to the wall crazy. It's going to be insane.
We hear such weird numbers, and we don't have any metrics to measure this against because it's all like HBO. They don't have to release anything. They don't have to tell us anything. They could tell us that it was the biggest hit they've ever had, and we would just you say so. Like, how do we know? You've had certain services in Canada, I believe, and in other countries where they've streamed it, and they've been able to measure it and saying that, hey, like it's actually huge. There you go. You can see right there. Like it's actually huge. But in terms of like U.S. performance, they've been kind of mum on what it did, other than saying, oh, it performed just under Wonder Woman 84, which that's still a hell of a win right there, even if that's true.
Also unfortunate if that's true, because that movie is.
It's awful. I hate. But,
wasn't that metric for Wonder Woman? The comparison was like what the initial first 5 minutes as far as when it launched or something.
Yeah.
Wasn't
that which is not exactly a 1-to-1 comparison, considering that one dropped on Christmas Day at like noon when everybody's off work, and the other one dropped at midnight on a Thursday.
Right. And so that's the thing is we don't know how it's been. I mean, listen, I've watched
that's
it
why
6 times. You guys have watched it multiple times, and I know that they're not counting the same metrics all the time. Well, I don't know that. I would assume they're not counting the exact same metrics for each household, but then again, I don't know. Maybe I don't know how they count that stuff. Because we want to talk theatrical box office. We can go into those numbers like crazy, but streamers just don't release those numbers. They just basically say, "Hey, we broke records." We're like, cool. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, it's always interesting when they release that stuff because I find it like when the stats came out that like Coming to America was like the most viewed like via or like streaming since the pandemic. So I was like, really? Like I didn't hear a lot of people talking about it. Like,
it really just kind of came and went. But it's not really. I mean, listen, I thought it was fine. It's not great. It's not even close to like what the first film was. I didn't hate it or anything. Like it was. I just don't ever need to watch it again. Nobody was talking about it. Nobody had anything to say. It didn't leave any kind of real lasting impact. So that tends to happen. But
go ahead.
With this, it's who's not talking about it? I mean, you have Mindy Kaling talking about it. About to Google what the Snyder Cut is. You have Leslie Jones doing like this hilarious Twitter commentary on it. Brad Paisley tweeting restore. Like what is going on here? Like that's a cultural zeitgeist moment right there. That's where things are. That's why
it's so weird to me because, I mean, essentially the way they've treated the PR after this movie, it makes sense. But like with Wonder Woman, like we were saying, nobody was talking about it. But then they immediately greenlight the sequel, probably as a PR
Monday.
move.
Yeah.
And for this one, like
what's funny about that though is Patty and Gal haven't commented on that announcement since then. To my knowledge, I haven't seen them like actually say anything about that because to me it came across like WB is like, yes, we're doing this, and maybe I'm sure they did, but it almost felt like they didn't even consult Gal and Patty that they were going to be doing that.
Like, really? Okay, cool. I guess.
All right.
But here's the thing about that. It is easier to greenlight a Wonder Woman 3 because all you're really concerned with is Gal and Patty's involvement, right?
Yeah.
For a Justice League, for a SnyderVerse thing, you're pulling together a way bigger pool of talent that all listen. The one thing you got to accept is that this is like 3-4 years old at this point. People have to move on with their careers. Like people are like, oh, they're trying to get rid of Billy Crudup and cancel the Snyderverse. Like, no, dude, he's like nominated for Emmys on the morning show. He's not going to leave that show to have a part where he like films for 3 days and for the Flash. Like it's not really, that's not one you sacrifice the morning show for.
Sure.
It's just not. And people have to continue their careers. That's just the way that it goes. You got to accept that reality. So if there was some recasting done, I could deal with that.
Yeah. I mean, even if everything was going perfectly, you would probably still run into these little situations where you've got small supporting roles where just scheduling is not going to work. And in a movie this size, we have so many characters like, just the nature of the beast kind of thing.
Yeah. But it's as you said,
every franchise goes through it seems.
Yeah, they do. And Ryan, you had said, too, like, you can bring people in and kind of piecemeal it, I think, and I think one thing about doing these sequels that a lot of it would be filmed kind of 300 style. I think the Nightmare movie, you can go film this
green
in like
screen
Libya
all day.
No, film this on a stage, man. Like you don't even need to. And like, you just don't. Zach shot stuff in his backyard for this movie. And you can tell it's green screen, but this is good VFX. It's a comic book movie, okay? Not trying to make you believe that the Titanic is splitting in half.
Right. Yeah.
So
or even like the Mandalorian tech. I can't remember the name.
Yeah, that's and I bring that up in this week's podcast. Is that whole? I know I keep saying that. I'm sorry, that's annoying. But we just talked about all of this the other day. So
everybody definitely check the show out, by the way. It's awesome. It's super entertaining.
That's awesome. But yeah, Brandon, what you're saying is like that whole thing is huge. That technology and the ability to do that now. What's funny about it is like it's almost the same technology as like using those big painted backdrops that they did for like in the 40s and 50s. But now they're doing it digitally, and it looks great. Like it you can pull it off. Like why not? Like technology is continuing to go up. We're not going down. We may be going down as a society as far as social media and our interactions, but in terms of technology, it's still the ladder is still going upwards. So I think that there is infinite possibilities. Even the technology now versus what Zack used in 2017 is vastly different. 4 or 5 years makes a huge difference in terms of how they're shooting things. And I think that there you go. I mean, that's a solution.
This next movie specifically too, where it is probably going to be heavy nightmare focus. Like you could do some down and dirty green screen studio, knock a ton of stuff out on whatever your schedule is, because you don't have to work around set pieces or locations or anything. Totally. So that's a bit of a blessing when you're talking about having to deal with all these actors and
And I think Zack can pull it off. I mean, just 300 sucker punch Watchmen this shit. Like he knows what he's, this is a very familiar environment for Zack to work in and to create in. So I think that costs could be kept down to a good place. But I think that it would serve an audience that wants it. And I feel like, this is one of those, I guess it's a segue into the Restore the Snyderverse thing is, I think that everybody should keep it up. There's people, I had people messaging me saying, oh, hey, we need to, I can't believe this is happening. Like it's dead. Like I'm like, what? Are you the same? Is he the same person that's been fighting for release the Snyder Cut? And now you take one interview and assume that everything is dead?
Right.
Like, what? Yeah. Where is your fight? What is your,
right.
Like, why do you think it just ends after one hashtag movement and a couple donations to a suicide awareness group that it's done? It's not how it works, man. You're going to have to stay in the fight.
And you've got all these, you've got the, the original fandom, but now you've got this huge growth from this movie that came out, or as kind of people are still watching
verified.
Like
it's so funny how many verified users like yourself, Paul, talking about this movie. And that's just Twitter, but that's the bubble we live in.
I hate that Twitter has the impact that it does. And I take no like acclaim in having a blue check mark. It's just, it is what it is. But ultimately, like,
give yours to Sean. He wants it. So
I'll give it to him. Sean, you want it? It's yours.
You guys can switch accounts.
Means nothing to me. If anything, it's just like, it's one of those things where I can actually be a voice that's different than the masses. And
sure,
it's something where you say, okay, so that's actually a person and not a bot that's saying this. That's actually saying something that's different. Because listen, I know there's people, probably people that follow me, even peers that I worked with when I was in my Jobo days, probably just rolling their eyes today at some of the stuff that I put out, and that's fine. I don't care. That's what's good though, is that you should have different voices saying different things.
Agree.
And I think that that's important to hear from all people on the spectrum. So that's where I think it comes in. I guess you could say it comes in handy, but in the end, they can take away. I don't give a shit. But but yeah, Brandon, you're right though. It does matter because people have placed value in that and seeing a blue check mark. Even though, like, you guys know as well as I see people with blue check marks tweeting stuff that you're just like, how are they even allowed on this platform? Like, what is going on here? Like, I'm baffled by that every day, and that's why I don't really place any value in it to myself.
We got a blue check mark on Vero, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I was like, hey, I actually saw it. I was like, hey, this is my Twitter, and they're like, okay, sure. It's like, all right.
They're like, we usually have to make sure that you have like enough like followers or whatever, but yeah, we'll just go ahead and give it to you. I was like, okay, cool, thanks.
They're like, do you have a pulse? Yes.
Yeah.
Here you go. But I mean, I like your
post here, right? Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's good to have people that other people listen to put that out there, and I think that has to continue. And I keep hammering home this whole thing about the positive needs to be amplified and the negative needs to be just quashed. The bad apples, there's bad apples in every fandom. We know this. And the worst thing you can do is amplify this. When people
don't
are like,
talk about it, just let it go and it'll die.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I delete more tweets than I ever send. And that's when you're doing it right. Okay. Yeah. There's so many times where I've come back and I'm like, oh, I just get fired up.
Yeah.
Stop yourself.
Yeah.
Stop yourself. Just don't count to 10 before you hit send. That's my
sleep on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I guarantee you, by the time you come back to it, and that's my thing, that's my measure. It's like, do I want to deal with what this may create? And if the answer is emphatically no, I'm like, delete. I'm not doing it.
And at the end of the day, there's really no way to win with those people because all they want to do is argue. They don't care about what they're arguing for. They just want to argue. Like,
and you got to learn, and people need to learn to ignore. It's almost like they feel like it's kind of, you know what it is? It's like Marty McFly in the Back to the Future movies where they call him Chicken. And he just can't. So you call me Chicken? That's it. Like he just, and he acts irrationally.
Right.
But if he just would ignore, if he just would just stay at that stoplight, changes everything. But that's what people need to do. And like people, like even me, like people will say stuff to me that I'm just like, oh God, like I'm just not even going to respond. If I don't respond and you're expecting a response, I'm ignoring you. I promise I saw it and I'm ignoring you.
Right.
Because I don't want to deal with your whatever stupid crap you said. I'm just ignoring you. And you just have to learn to move on and focus on. I know it sounds very kumbaya, right? You just focus on the positive, but you do. you need to. Being a jerk and a demanding little prick about all the things that you want. I want. That's kind of everything that's wrong with this world. It's like who cares if you want it? Like just because you want it doesn't mean you're going to get it. You know, show us that you're a positive person that deserves something. You know,
right? And it's also not going to. In a world like this, especially with something like the Snyder Cut or Restore the SnyderVerse, it's not going to get you what you want if you're creating animosity. Like the nature of people, like the primitive nature of people is they're gonna, if you say something they don't like or say something mean to them, like they don't want to push back. They're not going to want to support what you're doing or embrace what you're saying or, you know, be receptive to what you're saying.
And why prove the critics right? Why do that?
Right. Exactly. Like, there's enough bad talk, whatever you want to call it, out there about this movement. Like, we got a chance here to really like grow and build on what has been the foundation that was built for in the release of Snyder Cut campaign. Like, don't ruin it. Like, be positive and build on it.
It's not that hard. Just put the hashtag in there. Use the hashtag. That's really all you have to do. Just use that hashtag. Keep it trending. Keep it in, you know, because here's the thing. Everybody in Hollywood, they're all watching Twitter. Okay. If they're not directly using it, they have either a manager, an assistant, or somebody else that is informing people of what they're talking about. I guarantee you, I promise you. Just keep using it. You know, have a day. Hey, it's been a month. Let's have the month-long Restore the SnyderVerse tweet day. Everybody tweet it. That's it. It's as simple as that, you know. Get people involved, get the word out there. If you're going to write a piece, if you're writing for a site or even your own personal blog, you know, write something realistic, write something that is solution based, not something that is, hey, Warner Brothers, better make my stuff. Or I'm going to give bad reviews to every movie you ever release from now on. I'm going to boycott you, so you better give it to me.
You'll see.
Bastards. You'll see.
That's what I hated. Whenever the Tom and Jerry leak thing happened with Snyder Cut, and people just like started tagging WB and just badmouth. I'm like, dude, don't like, you know, like play nice here. Like they're giving you the movie. Don't like just like rip them and new them because an accident happened. It's like, you know,
and of course it gets revealed
like
that
the hand that feeds here.
Yeah. There's like, I'm always shocked and it's not just in the Snyder world, you know, it's in Star Wars everywhere, but like everybody has a damn conspiracy group now. Like everybody has a conspiracy group. I'm just like, I'm so like bored to tears with it. They're like, they leaked it on purpose to save it. I'm like, wait, they put $70 million into leak it and then just ruin it? That makes no sense. You're trying to basically say that Warner Brothers has $70 million to use to bribe a fandom. I don't think so. I don't think
they could have just not made the movie if they didn't want to do it.
And you know, the people that are like, somebody made like a fake Ann Sarnoff account and was like, I was like, dude, she's had a hand in making it happen. And this isn't exactly catching Ann Sarnoff, you know, lounging by the pool in her free time. This is a PR interview that was put out some very specific information. And I'm sure, as you said, it's not so much that she was necessarily coached, but I think that, you know, there was a lot discussed in terms of what she was going to say and how she was going to say it. And that's that. So I think that if people just remain positive, use that hashtag, and just approach it with a solution-based format in mind. You know, not this.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely
instead of spiteful, like
yes, hopeful instead of spiteful.
I know a lot of people got super frustrated with that press release because it was like they were just pouring cold water on everyone just after 4 days of everybody seemingly just having a big kumbaya moment. Everybody's, not only just fans are enjoying it, but like it seems like the world, quote unquote, is enjoying it. And then and then they released this statement, and it's like we're going to do stuff for everybody except for the people that like Snyder stuff, and that's what it kind of came across as.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's one of the things that like James Gunn talked about this week. He was talking about like, you know, we as Zack fans want to see his movies in addition to the other stuff. It's not like we just want all Zack films. And you know, it's unfortunate that that's kind of the approach that was taken. But I don't know.
Yeah, that was. I can't remember what the verbiage was that kind of portrayed that, but it was something along the lines.
I think she
like,
said if you want like singular vision.
Yeah, I was just like, guys, this is
you're going to be disappointed.
Well, and I think the biggest bucket of ice water to the face was the Ayer cut diss, which is not like maybe, not like not we'll even see. It's like we're not doing
3 words. Yep.
No, which is crazy to me. Why would you say no to something that's done? It's done. Like you don't need $70 million to put this out. Why not just have an alternate cut offered on HBO Max that could get you, you know, X amount of subscribers right there, and that's going to keep people. They're going to come in if they like that. Hey, maybe they discover the Harley Quinn animated show on HBO Max as well. They're like, hey, I'll stick around. Listen, for me, and I hear this too. This is another thing I keep hearing people say. I'm going to watch it for another month, and I'm going to cancel HBO Max. I'm like,
that's like the number one metric you're looking at. Yeah.
If that's what you're doing, you're actually working in the adverse direction of trying to restore the SnyderVerse. You're actually killing the SnyderVerse. That's what you're doing. Yeah. So if you think that, I'm just going to cancel HBO Max, that's a
don't delete.
Idea. Yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah, I mean that's even, you know, Zach, and that's one of the things that a lot of people have said. I know that Sean was like, maybe Snyder doesn't want to do it. You're campaigning for something that he doesn't want to do. It's like, well, seems like he wants to do it. I think he wouldn't be pushing this if he didn't have any interest in coming back and finishing his story.
And I think he would say that, right? He would say, guys, I had a great run. I'm moving on to do other things. And he still can, of course. I hope he does. I don't want him to just make Justice League movies.
Sure.
Snyder I love Snyder from the beginning, based off of 300. And I was like, wow, this guy is amazing. I can't wait to see what he does. And, you know, he hasn't disappointed. But I don't want to see him just make Justice League movies for the rest of his life. That would be a huge. That's like James Cameron making Avatar movies for the rest of his life. That sucks. What? The guy that made Aliens and Titanic and Terminator 2 is just going to make these blue alien movies? Shit. What a waste. So, but, you know, I hope that, I believe, you know, Zack was hired to make 3 Justice League movies, and that's what he planned for. And, you know, if he's offered that chance, I don't see why he wouldn't do it. But I think that at the beginning of it, I think their approach will probably be a little different in how they negotiate things.
Yeah.
Maybe get a final cut.
It's going to be a little bit more important.
I'd argue for a final cut. I really would. I'd be like, look, I need a final cut. That's it. And, you know, not that you couldn't work with the studio, but I need final cut. I need a guarantee that I'm not going to be taken off unless, you know, I do something just so horrible. But just, you know, do what you can to mitigate the problems that you had before. And I think you can move forward in a way that, you know, again, is solution based. You can make
at the end of the day, this company wants to make money. He wants to make movies. The fans want the movies. Like, there's a path to all this. It's just figuring
show business,
especially with the HBO Max outlet. It just seems like it just makes the most sense.
Yeah. And I don't think anybody necessarily. I know me personally. I think maybe it's just like the hope aspect where you're like, I don't care if it's just at home. That's fine. I'll take it. Just as long as we get it. I don't care. I don't have to see it there. I seriously, I will sacrifice and forego theaters, even though I'm dying to see Zack Snyder's Justice League in theaters, and I absolutely will. The second that I have an opportunity, I absolutely will do it. But if all I get is on the TV, so be it. I'll take it.
In a heartbeat. Yeah.
Yeah. Because shit, I just want to see it. I just want to see it continue.
For me too, like, and I know you're a huge comic geek. It was just so cool to finally see with these BVS a little bit. You kind of get a sense for like this world outside of Earth with these heroes, but to finally see Darkseid and Desaad in a movie, I can't tell
Darkseid
you.
is just so amazing.
Oh, geez, yeah.
We
had Ray Porter on here, and
that's so cool.
That dude's voice, it's insane.
Amazing.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely
amazing.
insane.
It really is. I couldn't. I mean, that's enough to want to continue to see this come through. And I think, like your everyday fans, like your casual fans, people that like Thanos. So I think Thanos is brilliant. I love Thanos.
Yeah,
I think Darkseid is on that same level, maybe even better. Depending, we haven't got to see as much of him yet. But God, do I want to? I really want to see more of Darkseid.
No, I mean, they teed him up perfectly in this movie.
You tease the biggest bad and then it doesn't happen. That would be such a letdown. Like,
God, seriously, letdown. Truly,
especially with everybody calling for it. Like with all the people calling for it, there seems to be very little people who are just like, nope, I've seen enough after Zack Snyder's Justice.
I want to see Ava DuVernay's version. Let me see her version.
Oh God,
nobody's saying that, but Ava.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, good
dude, I'm sorry. You cannot beat what Zack has built with that character. And that's just teeing him up. Like,
I feel like that's a situation where, like, for Ava, like I think that's just the weirdest hire I've ever heard of.
It is. It's very strange.
It's a situation. It's the same as like Joss. Why would you bring in Joss Whedon?
Yeah. To
take over a Zack Snyder film? They have completely different artistic visions. Right. They're not in any way in sync. It would have been better to bring in Noah Murrow or something like to finish it. Somebody that can at least fake his style. But instead, you get somebody that's he does a totally different thing.
I think you kind of answered your own question, though, is they weren't trying to do that. They wanted something different. They didn't want
it.
Yeah.
They're like, how can we take what Zack made and turn it into a Marvel movie?
Yeah.
Like, we hired Joss Whedon.
What could go wrong?
That's it. That's it. Yep. You're hired. I knew you were going places, kid.
That's right. Crash and burn.
Yeah, so Ava DuVernay on a New Gods movie makes, and you haven't noticed we haven't heard anything about that. I don't think it's happening. I really hope it doesn't.
I hope so too.
I want to see it.
That's just. I mean, this is the problem, dude. This is the MO of DC. Just overpromise, underdeliver with projects. Like, look at their Comic-Con announcements every year. Like, what percentage of these movies actually get made? Like,
dude, I was sitting there at Hall H watching the show, like, Cyborg, Green Lantern Corps. and, like, here we are, like, 5 years later, like, we got Birds of Prey.
All these movies should have been out by now.
Oh, yeah.
At least we got Birds of Prey, guys. Right? Shit.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. No.
All right.
That's kind of what Ryan and I were talking about. Like, I mean, until that Monday when they released that, we were really excited for James Gunn's Suicide Squad, the Batman, all these projects, Black Adam, Shazam 2, all these projects they had in the pipeline. But we were just like, man, like, it just kind of takes the piss out a little bit of like our excitement as far as just like wanting, just because we love this side of it, like adore it, and obviously, and
if you can't
like,
tell.
I haven't even had the motivation to watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier yet. Like, and I wanted to. I was looking forward to watching it, but after I was like, I just don't. Nothing compares anymore. It's like what's the bald that nothing compares to you? I can't think of her name.
Oh, Sinead
O'Connor.
Oh yeah.
I'm just singing that every day now. It's like just singing it to Zach.
Well, it's one of those things where like it's like I'm still stoked for the Suicide Squad. Like I love comic book movies. I'm gonna watch them, but it's just
Absolutely.
like seeing Harley Quinn in the Suicide Squad, seeing Momoa and Aquaman 2, all of these movies that Zack like were characters or movies that Zack was involved with, like built the foundation for, to not see it just stings to like if they don't finish what he was doing. It just like every time I see them in a movie, I'm like that, that's his world, but it's not his world. Like it's just this weird, and I don't want it to be that way because like I am stoked for these movies, but there's just this. I hate that I like have this feeling like.
Well, you can't help but feel a little slighted,
right?
In that way, and I get that sentiment. I really do, and especially when the movies are so atrocious. And the last two DC movies were atrocious, in my opinion. I absolutely hate Wonder Woman 84. I'm never going to watch that movie again.
Good company with both of those films.
I'll never. I have
those two are at the very bottom of my list.
First off, how is Wonder Woman 84 as long as it is and so boring? Like, how do you make a movie that long and that boring? Is whew. And
that was
this
the
is
first
another thing
movie
that
in some time where I looked at my watch and I was like, when is this going to end?
I remember I'm like watching it and I was like, as it's unraveling, I'm like, how? This is
what happened?
You get to a point where you're like, this is not going to get any better. It's too late for this to get any better. That's where you're like, shoo, damn. Like, it's done. It's cooked.
Dude, and watching Zack Snyder's Justice League too, seeing how the Amazons were treated and Themyscira and like Wonder Woman and the bank heist scene stuff.
So much better.
Like,
so much care and attention.
All I think about is her like like Matrix wire hanging floating over the wall or the railing at the mall, and she grabs the gun. We won't be doing that today.
That scene is it is an eye roll from top to bottom. Like the dude grabbing the kid and holding the kid hot. Like, I'm going to drop the kid.
Gosh.
Who wrote that? They thought like that's what somebody would do.
The guy doesn't like a guy like spin into a drum or something and then like start rotating like across
then
the
she like throws the little girl and she slides across
into the teddy bears or something.
Like she's like
I watched this movie and I'm like, God, like that is Wonder Woman, like this warrior, like
I will take
princess,
the head bopping Wonder Woman over the gun crushing like speech giving Wonder Woman any day of the week. I mean, it's like Wonder Woman 84 is the Superman Returns of superhero movies. Like you spend the whole amount of Superman Returns to watch Superman throw a giant rock into space, and Wonder Woman 84, you spend the whole movie to hear her throw her lasso around a guy's leg and give a speech. It's like what the hell?
Her lasso couldn't reach his leg, but then it did. Like,
but also, when has her lasso been able to control speech? There's like this.
That's a good question, Paul.
And suddenly, she's fucking broadcasting to the world. While people are dying, they're also watching TV.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah,
ridiculous.
that cringy. My wife's a huge Wonder Woman fan, and she was like, I looked at her face when she was watching that movie. She was just heartbroken because she loved the first one.
I could see how, like, especially women, that look up to this character would just be like, what the hell? Like, are you trying to say that women don't like action? That women don't want to see Wonder Woman kick ass? Like,
Show somebody that bank heist scene and then any scene from Wonder Woman 84. I'd love to see what people pick as their favorite scene.
There's no question.
I feel like those numbers would be overwhelming.
And I think it's, what something I enjoyed, this is like a sick, twisted thing, like, or you could equate it as such, is I like seeing the HBO Max tweets, the promoted tweets of Wonder Woman 84, and I would just go back and read the comments because they were so much fun. Not a single positive. It's like just people like, what is this pile of shit? This is the worst movie I've seen. It's a terrible comic book movie. This is awful, blah, blah, like just a tirade of just hate. And I loved it because it's just like the sick part of me. But if you do that for Zack Snyder's Justice League, you'll have a few here and there that are like, it was too long, or I didn't like the aspect ratio. But everything else is like amazing, great. This is huge.
Right.
Well, nothing like that in the Wonder Woman 84 promoted tweets. So there's
because
that
no rational person
well.
could watch that movie and think it's just gosh.
Even think, hey, make another one soon.
Right.
Sequel, greenlit.
Wait, you can bring back Chris Pine again somehow. Just do it. keep him coming back.
They probably will.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And the weird like, hey, at the beginning or at the end, hey, I slept with you. I'm Diana. Like, but he has no idea. I'm like, what is this?
Well, I mean, just the very concept that somebody like Diana,
Yeah.
an Amazon warrior, who like in the first movie was talking about how she read all the, all the erotic books or whatever on Amazon land. She's like, was very well versed in all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yet she's holding this torch for like centuries for however long for Chris Pine. Like, how good of a lay is this guy for one night?
Well,
in a small village in World War II.
It's all like, how long did he know? Did she know him a week?
Like, yeah, she's like, I miss my pilot boyfriend. Like, by all accounts, even though I know she's a god, but by all accounts, she probably by that time would have forgotten what he even looked like. For like that amount of time, she'd be like, yeah, he was handsome. Barely remember at this point.
Well, until she got the picture back from Bruce.
Until she got Bruce's
then she
picture.
remembered.
Yeah. She blew up that poster for her room. I'm sure.
That's what was funny, Ryan, whenever she was like, I lost someone once, and Ryan, every time we watched it, Ryan would go, twice. Because Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah, I mean, we could pick that apart for, like, the other thing too is like, I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know why. You know why? I was cleaning out my office because I'm trying to get my office set up, and I came across the Wonder Woman 84 Lego, which I bought before seeing the movie. I put it together. I actually threw it away. I was like, I have no desire to even keep this on display. Like, I literally just tossed it. But I kept the minifigs, and I was looking at her golden suit, and I was just sitting there thinking, like, what a waste! What an
I was going to say
waste.
Zero function. Yeah.
There's a heroic moment that's lost in Wonder Woman 84 where they could have built up that costume. Like, how many movies have we seen? This is a simple formula. Okay, it's nothing new. But where something is built up and a hero goes on a journey to find this like suit of armor, they find something, they find it and then they finally don it. And but there's some kind of struggle that gets them to that point. And then so you're like, yes, when it finally happens, and then you see it in action. Wonder Woman 84 foregoes all of that to the point that they're like, oh yeah, she just got it in the corner.
It's in the closet, wrapped up in some cardboard paper or whatever.
Right there. We have no idea where she got it, why she has it, what it is. Right. I mean, I feel like that's one of those things where I'm like, how do you lose these moments? How do you lose them?
I pre-ordered the Hot Toys Golden Armor, like full on, like the full spread wings ones. And I can tell you right now that sucker's going right back out the door when I get it in.
You know what?
I was going to ask if you ate the deposit and just forgot about it.
We should have that one get married to my Last Jedi Luke Skywalker that's sitting in my closet. They could be best friends. Because I did the same damn thing, and that damn figure is just sitting in my closet. It's never been taken out. And I haven't even put it on eBay yet because I don't even think I could sell it to break even. So I'm like, I'm just going to have to hold on to this stupid-ass thing.
I was like, should I get the $250 regular one or the $350 deluxe with the
I'm going all in. Wonder Woman 84, baby.
It's going to be great.
Look at that gold costume. How could it be bad?
Exactly. Oh.
I did just order, just as you guys, I think one of you guys did, the
both of us,
Nightmare.
Actually.
Did you guys both do it?
We both ordered it.
Nice. Yeah.
Ryan
I had to.
He was like, you might as well go ahead and do it. Because I haven't bought Hot Toys. I'm a DC collectible. I like the statues. And so I haven't dipped my toe into the dolls, as I call them.
You make fun of me calling them dolls.
And I always wanted
those again.
I've like forever wanted the Nightmare one. And then they put this one out. And right now the Nightmare one is like 500, resale just by itself.
The BBS
from BBS. And so I was like, I guess I should just go ahead and get this. It's because, $500 for both. Might as well.
Can't go wrong.
I mean, Black Suit Superman is an easy sell for me. And if it's a 2-pack, I was like, shit, fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yep.
And actually, it just canceled something. But yeah, Hot Toys. The good thing about Sideshow, though, for me, is that I can do like layaway. So I can't buy these things outright. So I'm just like, I mean, I could, but then I don't eat for a week.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
makes sense.
It'll be fine.
So
I did the payment plan on it.
Yeah. And you can do the down payment. Yeah, it really does. And I also think it's a good way for, people that, aren't quite as well off to get cool shit too. It's like, it makes it, everybody can get it,
It's a good thing to mention too with Zack Snyder's Justice League. I can't imagine what blows my mind is with all of this material that they had shot. They put out what they did in the theatrical version and forego all of the merch potential of this movie that just came out. Like all the dark side stuff and like I would love to see the dollar figure on what they've sold for this movie just in merch.
Yeah. Well, they got the McFarlane toys. They've got Whedon Workshop doing those statues, which a little too rich for my blood at this point, but they are awesome.
They're pretty.
And I've got a couple of the Funkos that they had on the DC shop. I did not get
those
Dark
sold
Side
out pretty quick.
Everything seems to sell out pretty quick.
Yeah. And again, that's why I made these shirts too. I was like, dude, there's a market there, and it's people want this stuff, and nobody's like really tapping into it. And it's like I don't understand why. I don't understand. Like, again, Warner Brothers just kind of getting in their own way. Like, I don't know why they don't embrace. I think if Warner Brothers really took a step towards embracing the fandom, which I feel like they've taken a great leap in even making this happen, but to take that next step, I feel that would help and go a long way in good faith and drawing in a true fan base that could rival something like Marvel's, because it shows a care and love and attention to the fan base. You don't got to cater to them. You don't have to pander to them. But you could say, okay, you guys want more of this? Cool, we'll do it. We embrace it. Hey, get a shirt that says "Restore the SnyderVerse" or whatever, or the SnyderVerse continues or something.
Right. If you were a business, would you look at something like this 1.5 million tweets? Imagine having a 1 million person like passionate marketing team out there just spread. They've started TikTok accounts and like just the word of mouth that you generate from this group of people who like.
I think that's what Snyder told them when he came to pitch this for them. He was like, they're marketing this better than you could ever market any movie. In
the word
from
of
your company.
So word of mouth is the greatest form of advertising that exists. There is no greater form. Word of mouth is the top seller for marketing, and it's not really something you can buy. That's one of those things where I think a business embracing that is a smart move. And if they're not embracing it because there's like, say 100, idiots that post dumb stuff, that's pretty dumb. That's actually very dumb, because that is, again, equating an entire fan base that's way bigger than you're giving it credit for because of a few vocal bad apples. And really, but that kind of speaks to social media as a whole, right? Like, you get a lot of people or rather a very small group of people with very loud voices trying to speak for the masses. And then you get, you start getting into like really bad politics and bad policies and everything that go far beyond movies, but that's how it happens. So, and this is why I say you've got to amplify the good and subvert the bad. Leave the bad in the dust.
I saw a tweet, I think it was, it might have been yesterday, and I don't remember who it was, but they were talking about this review bombing of Godzilla vs. Kong, and I think there were like 20 reviews or something that you could tell were like Snyder related.
Yeah.
And
could very well be the same person as that
exactly guy. Well, someone wrote an article about it, and the first comment on there under the tweet that they put out was, I'm pretty sure this was the same person in all these reviews because they misspelled the word boycott every time.
But that's all it takes, is there's like one person. Like, how many times in your life has it always been just one stupid ass person that ruins everything? And everybody's like, and there's always a Leroy Jenkins out there that's going to do something stupid. And deal with it,
right.
So of course, the Snyder
We've all got to run suicides for these people review buying. I dropped a sports reference for you, Ryan. There you go. Don't get me any of those.
So proud of you.
That's funny. And Godzilla vs. Kong is actually awesome. I watched it today.
Well, talk about it. You just watched it.
It was a blast.
Yeah.
I had, what it is? The best way I could describe it is it's like a theme park ride. It's like it's like literally like going to a theme park and getting on one of those rides, like one of those 3D rides with like that also has like the imagery and stuff, and you're getting shaken around all over the place. And like when it's over, you're just like, whoo, whoo. Like the human characters for the most part are pretty worthless. They always are. But I don't think anybody's going to see Godzilla vs. Kong because they're really concerned about like the interrelationships of the characters. Like, if anything, those are just like kind of.
I'm gonna stop you right there, Paul. Like, you got somebody who wants to buy a shirt there. Where can they?
Yes,
where can they find them?
Jonathan, you can get this shirt. Go to Arctic Ninja Design on Etsy and get yourself a shirt. I got plenty of stock. Yeah, get it. Nice. But yeah, it's a roller coaster ride. It delivers visually, like the visuals are amazing.
Nice.
Like really, like I was like, whoa, dang, they're really leaning into this. It's not just two monsters beating each other up in a big city. And the Hollow Earth stuff.
The weaknesses really cool for the second one for me. So that's good to hear that they seem to be improving on that.
It goes well beyond, and it really opens up the doors to, kicks open the door for more stories and places that they can hold movies like this. But it's like an hour and 45 minutes, so it's quick. It's a fun ride. The characters are stupid, like they always are.
That's what I'm looking for in those movies, man. I just want to I want those like holy crap moments, and like, you know,
there's a number of points where I was like, oh shit, and where I was like, oh, damn. To me, that's when you got a good movie going. I was like, oh damn. Right. You know, like just
especially in a Godzilla versus Kong movie, like that's if you're like, that's what you're looking for if you watch a movie like.
And there is a clear winner, so you will by the end. Although I think people will still debate it. There's a clear winner, and those that don't want to accept that will still fight. But there's a clear winner. So there is a Godzilla versus Kong, and there is a winner. But there's still
how does it rank amongst the other, I guess, 4 total?
So I liked Godzilla King of the Monsters. I really enjoyed it. I know some people didn't. I did not like the first Godzilla because it had like 12 minutes of Godzilla. So it actually, the ranking for me of the US release versions of these films would be in reverse. So I would say Godzilla vs. Kong is number 1, King of the Monsters 2, Godzilla 3.
So, where would Skull Island fit in there for you?
Oh yeah, Skull Island. Man, I would tie that with King of the Monsters. Okay. Those are both a lot of fun for me. But the Kong stuff in Godzilla vs. Kong is great. You actually get a lot more Kong than you do Godzilla. A lot more involvement.
Nice.
Because really, because Godzilla's kind of been, he's already been set up. He's had 2 movies.
He's got 2. Yeah, he's got 2 whole movies.
He's good. Like, he's just a giant lizard that shoots lasers and he's mean. But Kong is Kong. Like, the good thing about Kong is that, he's not just a rampaging ape. He's always got some other. There's he has like a human type layer, which is understandable. Like, if you want to break it down DNA wise, so he's an interesting. A monster. An interesting. I don't even really call him a monster or a kaiju because he doesn't really feel like one.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some great surprises in it. The action is awesome. I'm actually seeing it in theaters on Wednesday. And the only reason I watched it, I got a screener, and it's just so I can do a review for my YouTube channel. But I was like, man, if it sucks, maybe I won't go see it in theaters. But now I'm taking my kid, and I can't wait to go. So this will be awesome. I can't wait to see it in theaters. Nice. And if you can see it in theaters, I highly recommend it. It's loud, it's big, and like I said, it's like a theme park ride. It's a great summer type movie, even though it's not summer. So
heck yeah.
And I think it's a good one to go back to theaters to see.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That and Nobody. Nobody is amazing too. If you want to see something really cool, Nobody's awesome.
We were talking about reviewing that one on our other show. We definitely need to check that one out.
Yeah, Nobody's awesome. Very cool. Bloody Bob Odenkirk rules.
Awesome.
Who is the director? I know that David Leitch is a producer on that. Who's the guy
I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he's one that did Hardcore Henry. Can't remember his name. He did a great job. And what I like about Nobody is that it's not like John Wick. Like, he gets injured and stuff, but he's kind of like just like a straight up killing machine, like unstoppable. Right?
Yeah.
But Odenkirk's Nobody he's a badass. Don't get me wrong, but he takes some serious hits, and it's like he's coming out of kind of like a retirement type thing where he's kind of subverted who he was. but it's not like, oh, everything is just back and good. He's more like, oh, geez. He's just like getting the shit kicked out of him a lot. So it's cool to see. That's what I like. I like vulnerable heroes that, you know, and injured and have to rise above. I enjoy that. That's what really makes me.
So he doesn't have those. He doesn't have those clauses in his contract where he can only get punched a certain amount of times, like you always talk about with The Rock.
No, definitely not. No, I think Bob Odenkirk had something in his contract. It's like, you're going to get hit at least 5,000 times.
Yeah,
you must sign for that. And Odenkirk was like, "Give me 3 years to train, and I'm good."
Here's the concussion.
But he's
waiver.
actually great. Yeah. Like, again, you know, another thing we discussed was, you know, him like somehow, you know, Odenkirk has emerged as like, after this movie, like, I would buy him as an action hero in any movie. Like, he's that good. I'm just like, dude. And who would have thought that like Saul would be an action hero?
That. Yeah, like I've loved kind of the revival of Keanu Reeves in that form. I'd love to see some other guys pop up like that.
And they could, the universe is set up so easily that the John Wick and nobody characters could intertwine. That would be amazing.
Yeah,
you know, I mean,
Christopher Lloyd in
yes,
Nobody?
He is. He's got a great little.
How's isn't Connie Nielsen in it?
Yeah, she is.
Is she?
She's good, but she's like the wife. So
gotcha.
It's kind of a thankless, the thankless wife role. She's good. I mean, I love Connie Nielsen, but it's not like a massive role or anything. But she's good. You know, she does the wife bit good.
Right on. Well, look, man, I guess we've already kept you for an hour and 40 minutes. We'll wrap up here.
Bucky's in his kennel.
He's like, gotta go pee pee.
Let me out.
Gotta go to the bathroom.
He's good. He's had free reign today.
Nice. Everybody, if you've loved this episode, I definitely recommend you follow Paul on Twitter at Arctic Ninja Paul. Obviously, check out their podcast, The Beard and the Bald. Him and Chris Bumbray do a great job of.
Thank you.
Kind of banging heads on some subjects, but in a fun way. And obviously we're on Twitter also at CAPECAST Show. So give us a follow there. We live on there because we need our Snyder hit every day. So
I get it.
Yep.
I get it.
Yep.
And hit the subscribe button. So I guess we've got to remember to say that since we're on YouTube, right?
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on again, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a blast. I always enjoy talking to you guys. And
Heck yeah, man.
Anybody listening, I fully endorse CapeCast boys. So, you know, give them a follow, give them all your likes, hit the notification bell, all those other tricks.
Love it. That's right.
Good boys.
That's going to be our next. We had Ray Porter do a drop for us. Now we got Paul doing one.
There you go.
That's right.
It's going to get better.
It's keep it going. But I appreciate
the train
it, guys.
moving.
Appreciate you guys having me on.
Heck yeah, man.
Absolutely,
we'll have you back for sure.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, guys.
Later.
Thanks all.